Live, Laugh, Larceny discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or could be easy listening to all you psychopaths out there.
All stories are based on actual events, but details may vary.
Listener discretion is not advised.
Live,
Laugh.
Larceny. Welcome to Live, Laugh, Larceny. Like the Energizer Bunny, we run on battery. This is Trevin.
And I'm Amanda. We run on battery, do we?
Yeah, like a Sultan battery.
Oh, okay. I feel you. So, Trevin, what is your dreadful dilemma this week?
So my dreadful dilemma is happening at work. It's been a while since I've talked about work, I feel like.
I feel like the crop duster was one of the last ones, but there was maybe another one before that. That one just really stuck in my mind.
It sticks in mine too, and my nose. So they're getting ready to change the system that we do everything out of, which everybody loves when that happens because it never seems to work out like it's supposed to. You know how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, they have some bigwigs in the building. So they've got people from the department that puts the system together. They've got people from our big corporate office that comes in and kind of tells them how they want it to be done because they're building the system from scratch. And then there's other people from our daddy company who are in to also make sure that it works well with everything they want to have done. We are the location that nobody gives a shit about. They're like, oh, we're just the scum of the earth over here. But for some reason, they're choosing our location to be the place that they all meet up and have these conversations, which doesn't make any sense.
Huh.
So they're taking up our entire conference room.
Oh, God.
And we're talking like 15 people just packed like sardines in this conference room brainstorming, which is such a corporate thing because anybody who knows anything about corporate, it's just a bunch of side conversations that don't actually get anything done. Maybe 3 hours worth of work happens in 8 hours because they're too busy like just building each other up or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's two different corporates. There's service corporate, which is us, and then there's corporate. And so I don't know if I've talked about this on the show or not, but we will get the corporate emails a lot.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Because they said something about, or maybe you just told me, I don't know. But you said something about an email where they were like, oh, who wants to take a ride on the private jet or something?
Yeah, they always say, hey, if anybody needs to use the private jet to go here, it's available. And even though it's not actually something that we can do. And they also will say, oh, corporate's getting free coffee catered to them from this big coffee place. What do you want? And it's like, you guys aren't that. Why do we see this? They like rub it in our face.
Yeah.
So they took us off of the big corporate emails a while back. Instead of doing something to make it more okay for everybody, they just took us off of it so we don't see it anymore.
Damn.
But now these people are using our conference room all the time. And I am seeing just how luxurious it is to be corporate. Because every single day, and they said that they were going to be in this conference room for the rest of the year. We're recording this episode earlier, but they've been in our building since the beginning of November. And so we're talking 2 straight months. And they never have to work on Fridays. You never see them in Fridays. And they have food catered every day.
Damn.
So it's like, hey guys, you know how we don't contribute to your HSA anymore? I think it's going to all these free lunches that these people are getting.
Oh, God, I hate that.
But what makes it the most worstest of all is one of the people who is kind of in charge of this other side piece service thing. He used to be our boss for a short amount of time, and I don't like this guy very much. He's one of these guys who he acts like he's your best friend, and he makes these cheesy white guy jokes all the time. And it's all a way to buddy with you, but he will turn on you at a moment's notice if it means that it will help further him in some way.
Yikes.
And so he used to be our boss, and the second they made him our boss, the guy who acts like he's your best friend all the time was like, dress code, we need to crack down on it. And so then he would be really shitty and say like, oh, I like your shoes. But really what he meant was those shoes aren't up to code and stuff like that.
Ew.
So he's back in our building now because after he was our boss, a lot of people were complaining and they made him not our boss very quickly because he was just not good with people. And everybody was like, I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
Well, now he's in our building every day again, which I was so happy when he left. Now he finds every reason he can to leave his room to walk in our area and then just trying to catch people. He's the mole. He's trying to catch you on something so we can get you in trouble.
Oh my God. It's not even like you guys are meeting with customers either.
No, we're not customer facing at all.
No.
I mean, we're in the upstairs area, but we might as well just be like bottom dweller basement people because we get no respect. We don't get seen, nothing.
Damn.
But this dude walks around. He's a really skinny little guy, but he like walks with the hardest walks I've ever heard a person walk. And he walks very fast. Like he almost runs into people all the time. But whenever I hear him coming up behind me, I hear clop, clop, clop. And then it goes clop, clop. And he gets real quiet because he's trying to sneak up behind me and catch me like looking at my phone or doing something.
Ew, get out of here.
But then when you catch him, he's like, oh, hey, Trevin, how's your day going? How's things doing?
Oh, God.
It's like, I know you don't care. And you're just
Yeah.
hoping to catch me. And so you can bring something up.
You're just being a fake little bitch to my face. Oh, God. That is so triggering to me. I had a job in the past that I thought I was a part of a certain team within the structure. But it just so happened that every time there was a lunch or a fun meeting or a fun whatever, I was the only one in that group that was never invited.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, like I've had that happen. I've also the footsteps thing even is triggering. Like I had a boss that would like clump around and always check on what I was doing and making sure no one was even having any sort of conversation with me of any kind because God forbid I even say hi to someone and not stare at my work all day, you know?
Yep.
Oh God, Trevin. God, so sorry.
Corporate life.
Well, I also have a dreadful dilemma this week. So I had a really weird experience happen. This was probably, I think it was actually just last week. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, if you would be weirded out too.
Okay.
So I had to get Arlo some cat food. And I told Lila that we could go to Petco and we'd pick out the food and that she could pick out a new toy for him because she loves dangling the little string for him.
Oh, yeah.
So we were in Petco and it was just me and the two girls. And it was a fun start. Lila was looking at the ferrets. She loves the ferrets. She wants a ferret. We were looking at the fish. We actually surprised my dad with a couple new fish that day. We were just living it up in Petco, having a great old time. So we made our way to the checkout line. And there are a couple of women behind me in the line, and Winnie is in her stroller, and Lila was actually underneath the stroller in the little like storage pouch. I don't know.
Not even going to question it.
Yeah, she was just doing her thing, you know, chilling out. And they were telling me like, oh, Winnie's so cute. Complimenting my baby. That's fine. Whatever. So I'm looking through my phone wallet and I'm trying to get my card to pay. And I'm turning and looking at the cashier. And the next thing I know, one of the women is right by Winnie and she's like stroking her cheek with her
Ew.
finger. Thank you. That was my exact feeling inside. But before I could even say anything, like, what the fuck? Get off my kid. This is awkward. Or even something even nicer, like, oh, get the fuck away from me. I mean, that's not nicer, but before I could even react, she had stopped, you know, because I was so distracted doing this. And then I look over and I see it. And then she's like, okay, and walks back. And I was just like, how long was the stroking going on? And why are you touching my precious baby's cheek?
Yeah, cheek stroker.
Ew, I hated it so much, especially as a parent who both of her kids have had RSV and like all these illnesses are going on.
Yeah.
And she's about to be 7 months, so she's still not even a year. I don't know. My mom protective mode just immediately was like, I let my guard down and she just went in for the kill. And oh, it was just so creepy.
Yeah, you just be like, don't touch my baby, slap her hand.
Yeah, I've had a couple weird interactions where people, like strangers, think that they can touch my kid or tell my kid what to do or tell me what to do with my kid or touch my pregnant belly, like all these things, right?
Right.
But it was just really extra creepy seeing her go like to her, why are you doing this?
Yeah. There, little child.
I'm like, I know her beautiful soft cheeks are great to touch, but they are not yours to touch.
You got to at least give the baby a gift first.
Exactly. So that is my dreadful dilemma this week.
Yeah, people don't really know how to act around pregnant people or new babies sometimes. It's almost like when you speak to a puppy or a kitten and you're like, ooh, little baby. And people are
Yeah.
like, I've never heard your baby kitten talk before. It's like that filter instantly goes away when something little and cute is around.
Yeah.
A lot of times it is just kind of like, oh, Ted has a really weird baby talk. But then there's those people who are just like, I must rub its cheeks, or I must do something really kind of weird.
Yeah.
The filter doesn't have time to come up because they're just so overtaken by cuteness that they're just a creep.
Yes. PSA to everyone out there. I'm sure none of our listeners are creeps, but just in case a creep is walking by your desk as you're listening, do not stroke a baby's cheek.
Yeah.
And also try and realize when the cuteness effect is happening to yourself and gather yourself
Yes.
before you make a grave error.
Yeah. Think before you do whatever you do with a baby, weirdo.
I know. So weird. But we are going to be doing some killer facts today.
Hello?
We've traced the facts. They're coming from inside the house.
Killer facts.
We're killing some facts, and I am going first.
Wow, you just did a really cool phone move.
Oh, thank you. I spun it in my hand.
Oh my God, he's like, and he like spun the phone so quickly and caught it with such ease. And he's like, and I'm going first.
Thank you. I'm like the Clint Eastwood of handling smartphones. So this week, I'm dealing with a fact that people may know, but I'm also digging into it because I've heard this fact so many times in just a short sentence form. Like, did you know blank? And I never actually dug into it. So I wanted to know more. I don't know if you've ever heard this fact, but there's a chicken that lost its head and lived for 18 months after it had lost its head.
No.
Oh.
Tell me more.
So I had heard this many times and I was like, cool, whatever. But then I started thinking about it earlier today and I was like, yeah, okay, cool, but how?
Yeah. Do they not have a brain up there?
So I'm going to tell you about Mike the Headless Chicken,
Oh my God.
which kind of sounds like Puff the Magic Dragon.
It does.
Mike the Headless Chicken
Lives
doesn't have
by
a head.
the sea. Yeah, I was like, doesn't live by the sea. Doesn't have a head.
So he was born on April 20th, 1945, and he lived
420?
Oh, yeah. Dang.
Okay, sorry. What was the year again?
1945.
Okay.
And he lived till March 17th, 1947. Which, I mean, we're talking chicken. So I'm getting this information from Wikipedia. Don't at me. I don't care. I felt like the Wikipedia article told it plenty well enough. I didn't need to go too much deeper on this.
Yeah.
So he's a male Wyandotte chicken. He lived 18 months after having his head cut off. He achieved national fame until his death in Fruita. It's spelled like the word fruit with an A at the end. Colorado.
Ooh.
I'm not familiar with it.
Me neither.
But in that town, they have Mike the Headless Chicken Day.
Oh.
And it's held every May.
Aw.
So what had happened was on September 10th of 1945, farmer Lloyd Olson of Fruita, Colorado, was planning to eat supper with his wife, with his mother-in-law. Very different. And he was sent out to go fetch chicken. So he got this 5.5-month-old chicken named Mike, and he got his axe and got ready to behead the chicken. But somehow he missed the jugular vein, leaving one ear and some of the brainstem. It's very weird. Due to his failure, the chicken was still balanced up on perches and would walk clumsily. Okay, we're talking 1945. I was raised on a farm.
Uh-huh.
Anytime an animal was wounded,
Yeah.
usually it was just like, okay, I guess we're going to put it down.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's how I like to do things, but that's just what I was raised around.
Yeah.
We're talking about a farmer in 1945 who viewed this chicken as a meal.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it wasn't like, I better just finish the job.
Exactly.
It's like he just thought, this is very cool. It's so weird. He's just like, okay, I will raise this headless chicken now and take care of him. That they said that
What is this thought process?
It doesn't make any sense. So the chicken would still attempt to do normal chicken things. Like it would still kind of like peck at nothing and walk around, even though it didn't have a head. And it would try to crow, which in the articles said the crows consisted of gurgling sounds made in the throat, which that sounds sad.
Oh my God.
But he didn't die. Instead, they decided to just take care of him. So the farmer decided to feed it a mixture of milk and water via eyedropper through its hole.
What?
And they would give it small grains of corn and worms. Super weird. But he ended up selling him to touring sideshows to make money. He was put on display to the public for admission costs of 25 cents in 1945. And at the height of his popularity, the chicken owner earned $4,500 per month, which is the equivalent, and this is 2021 numbers, so it's probably gone up a ton in the last year.
Yeah, seriously.
The equivalent of $54,000 in 2021. Mike was valued at $10,000 in 1945, equaling about $121,000 now. In March of 1947, at a hotel in Phoenix, as they were stopping with one of his tours, they said that he had got a corn kernel stuck in his throat and he had inadvertently died. They didn't have their cleaning syringes on him to actually take care of him, and then he just kind of choked on some food. Some people say it was just because he couldn't breathe properly, but yeah, he died at a motel while on tour on basically a freak show.
Oh my God.
Because they said he was on tour with the touring act where there was also two-headed babies and stuff. So there was like the two-headed baby, the no-headed chicken, stuff
wow,
like
they
that.
were really obsessed with like multiple heads or no heads at all, weren't they?
Yeah.
So, okay, yes, I'm having a very hard time. Firstly, just understanding why he's like, I'm going to just keep this chicken alive.
Mm-hmm.
But now that you're telling me how much money this guy made, I'm wondering if he always had that in his mind, or I don't know.
I feel like he didn't have that in his mind, and he just kind of stumbled upon a money-making thing they didn't know existed. But I just cannot wrap my head around an old 1940s farmer going out to kill a chicken for food, failing, and then just saying,
well,
I mean, like, it's one thing if it got hit by a car and you're like, let me see if I can save its life. But you were the reason why this thing was hurt.
I know. And he's like, well, now I think it deserves my love and affection.
Yeah.
What? That is so bizarre. I've actually never heard anything about that fact. I guess there is the phrase running around like a chicken with its head cut off. Does that come from that?
No, that was how you would
okay.
normally kill a chicken, was after you behead the chicken, its body will still move. And so it will just kind of like flinch and run in circles until it eventually bleeds out and just falls over. So that's what that means. Running around like a chicken with its head cut off is just saying like you have no rhyme or reason. You're just kind of running around frantically.
Okay. See,
Yeah.
I know nothing about this. Okay.
That's what he was going to do, is basically just chop its head off, let it run around, and then go
Yeah.
cook it. But he
it
failed.
just was like, nope, I'm going to just be kicking it over here. No head.
Yeah, he had a change of heart and just said, okay, I guess I'll raise you because you're more interesting without a head than you were with.
People are so disturbing sometimes.
People
Oh my
are
God.
weird.
Well, so my killer fact is about a very interesting place. And I'm curious if you've ever heard of it. Have you heard of Portugal's Chapel of Bones?
I think so. It's the church. I don't really remember how they had it, but they had like skulls and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember where they came from.
Yeah, so this was super interesting to me. So the chapel itself is in Evora, Portugal. Oh, and also I found this article super, super helpful if you guys want to read all about it. The website is Atlas Obscura. Have you used that before?
Yeah, it's
That
like,
sounds
has a bunch
familiar.
of really interesting places.
Yeah. Very cool website. Definitely check it out. So this chapel was constructed by monks in the late 16th century.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, when they were constructing the chapel, there were 43 cemeteries in and around Evora, which is the town that the chapel's made in. And they were taking up really valuable land. I mean, 43? I don't know how big of a town this is, but that's a lot of cemeteries.
Yeah, it really is.
So the monks wanted to make this chapel, but they also didn't want to condemn the souls of the people buried there. So they decided to kind of combine the two. When they made the chapel, they relocated the bones that were in these cemeteries. They had a couple options, right? They could have just put the bones hidden away inside the building maybe, or I don't know, really anything else than what they did. But I guess for the time when this was built, they thought that it would be more disrespectful to just move the bones and then kind of hide them away or destroy them. So they decided to put them on display and make them a part of the chapel itself.
Like in the walls, right?
Yes. If you look at pictures, which I will post on our social media, but there are just walls made of skulls, kind of like you were talking about. And apparently there are around 5,000 bodies and skeletons, if you will, among the chapel walls, which I'm just like, what in the world?
Yeah.
5,000? That just seems like so many. But there are also some really eerie poetry and phrases around the chapel. So I wanted to read this one because they say it kind of explains what the chapel is for. This is what the poem says. Where are you going in such a hurry, traveler? Pause. Do not advance your travel. You have no greater concern than this one, that on which you focus your sight. Recall how many have passed from this world. Reflect on your similar end. There is a good reason to reflect, if only all did the same. Ponder, you so influenced by fate. Among all the many concerns of the world, so little do you reflect on death. If by chance you glance at this place, stop for the sake of your journey. The more you pause, the further on your journey you will be.
That's hard to follow. There's a lot of pausing in there.
They want you to pause, damn it.
Yeah, stop and smell the skeletal wall.
Yeah, so here I'm just going to show you a couple images. We're talking skulls on skulls on skulls.
Yeah, that's creepy as hell.
Oh, God. Here's a whole... And then there's like full skeletons also just like hanging around. But yeah, it looks like an actual chapel, just the walls are made out of bones, basically.
Yeah, I feel like, to me, and they say like, oh, what would be more respectful and whatnot, your unmarked skull is now just a little building block of what makes our aesthetic. And like it's unmarked, so we don't even know that this belongs to Sir Frederick, the really nice guy, you know?
Yeah.
They're not being remembered. They're just one piece of a whole thing now. I just feel like that makes them not memorable.
Yeah, I know. And I don't know, like they said for back in the day when this was built, they were like, this is the most respectful way. So I don't know if it's just like times have changed and we've really thought about it differently, or if it's more of like a cultural thing. I don't know.
True, it could just be a cultural thing.
Maybe
there's still people today that are around there like, this is the way to go.
This is the way to do it. Yeah, truly, I don't know. But I had never heard about this place. And when I saw the pictures, I immediately was just like, what is this? And what's going on? So it was fascinating to me that it was built by monks. It was fascinating to me that they felt the need so deeply to make this chapel that they were like, yep, we've got to move all these people, make this chapel, and then incorporate them into the walls. It's just a really bizarre situation.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what the whole building process must have been like, drawing up plans and like, I'm going to need this many skulls to make this wall. I'm going to need this. And then also having the people going out robbing all the graves and then like bringing the materials in. It's just...
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of extra work.
And I'm wondering just how haunted that place is. I mean, you've got to think it is.
Oh, I'd haunt it if somebody made me just a piece of their wall.
Yeah. So anyway, I had to share that with you all. But, and like I said, definitely if you haven't already, we make posts every episode we make just to give more visuals. So any of the bizarre things or criminals we talk about, we like to post pictures of them too. Yeah.
Sometimes there's a meme related to a dilemma as well.
Yes. So have we made our way to Storytime, Trevin?
We have. So this week I'm telling a story from the news. And it's about a very important part of our survival. It's something that we all need, and maybe some of us get more of it than others. So let's just jump into this thing. And here we go. Let's talk about something that I feel most of us don't get enough of. Sleep. At least, I know I don't get enough of it. According to the CDC, 1 in every 3 Americans do not get enough sleep. Chances are, even if you do get enough sleep, you probably wish you had more. It's like money. When you're asked how much you want, the simple answer is always more. There are an unlimited amount of ways in which we need sleep. It helps balance our growth and stress hormones, our immune system, our appetites, and so much more. So if you're not getting enough of this, chances are you're probably feeling a bit of an imbalance physically or mentally.
Leave me alone, I'm pissy.
We all have a different relationship with sleep. There's the constantly sleepy, the insomniacs, the night owls, and I guess normal people. I live with a woman who loves sleep more than me. In a lot of ways, I can see why. Sure, I can help cheer her up after a hard day, or surprise her with a random annual bouquet of flowers. But I can't improve her brain performance and decrease inflammation. Trust me, I've tried. Emily can wake up from a 9.5-hour night's rest and think, boy, I can't wait for my nap later. And she will do it too. It's uncanny. You'd think that her body would say, nah, you've had enough, Miss Greedy. But she will cozy up to Harvey on the couch, and I won't hear from her for a couple of hours. I talk about Emily's sleeping habits like she's some kind of alien, because that's exactly what she is to me. For me, sleep is necessary, but extremely inconvenient. With my OCD tendencies, I have a mental checklist of things I need to get done or progress I need to make on a project before I can go to bed. And guess what? I never get to those points at a good time. My sleeping is a lot like me getting to work. I want to be 100% efficient with my time. If I have 10 minutes before I have to get to work, I will find something to take up that time.
Better do some dishes.
That newly added chore will probably take me longer than 10 minutes, leaving me late for work.
Shit.
Sleep is no different. I hate that I am a slave to capitalism. If I want to enjoy anything that the rest of the world enjoys, I need to at least sell 40 hours of my soul a week to continue having it. So on a weeknight, going to bed means clocking out on freedom of being my authentic self and resting up to don business casual attire in a beige office.
Time to go to bed and wake up to a nightmare.
After all of my years as a working American, I still crawl into bed, emotionally kicking and screaming, hoping to find a way out of needing a job.
It's not fair.
But because of this, I probably do have some different issues caused by lack of sleep. I can find myself dozing off at my office computer from time to time. Losing weight and recovery from workouts is more difficult, and I'm sure I have a fair amount of inflammation.
I'm inflamed.
Today, I will be telling you about another person who also doesn't take sleep as seriously as they should. And just like a lack of sleep can turn some people into a grouch, this time, it turned them into a petty criminal. Chris and Erica were an average, love-struck couple in their late 20s, living in the valley of the beautiful Yakima, Washington. These two enjoyed the finer things in life. Great sights, amazing local apple orchards, and doing whatever they could for free. For these two, they really had to enjoy fun on a dime, on account of them not having a lot of money. Jobs just weren't what they used to be. Sleeping in and showing up late was grounds for firing.
You're fired.
And calling your boss Old Dick Jesse was apparently unacceptable. For these strange rules of employment, Chris and Erica had a hard time keeping an occupation. This was a particularly hard time for the two, as their cost-cutting was turning its sights on their Netflix account. Sitting down at the table to sip a mug of hot water, Chris broke the news. Honey, I know you recently started binging Breaking Bad, but if we don't make any money soon, our Netflix account is next to go. Erica gripped her chest as if her heart stopped beating. Please, no, she screamed. I have to know what happens. There's gotta be another way. Damn it, Erica, Chris yelled. Can't you see that I'm drinking hot water from a mug? I couldn't even afford coffee beans. I did this so you could continue watching Netflix. Either we find a way to make money, or it's bye-bye Walter White. Erica slumped down in her chair. There was no way that applying for a job today would yield her a paycheck fast enough to keep Netflix running. She had already stayed up late last night, binging the 3rd season. I guess I'll never break bad, Erica said to herself. But saying that particular phrase in that moment sparked her brain to start connecting dots. Erica started doing mathematical equations in her head, as if she were Walter White himself.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service.
I've got it, she said with a villainous energy. I will break bad. Chris reacted in a confused manner, but it didn't matter. Erica was already devising a Heisenberg-style heist. We will rob storage units using science, she exclaimed to her boyfriend. Again, Chris felt very confused. Erica didn't graduate middle school, and she still was amazed by how the automatic doors worked at Walmart.
Look at those fuckers go.
He watched her struggle with science ideas until she left the room to go rummage through the garage. A bit later, she came back carrying a large pair of bolt cutters. We will rob storage units using bolt cutters, she announced while holding up the large tool. Together, the two devised a plan to break into the Wapato storage units, load up their truck, and then pawn all of the items of value. All they had to do was wait until the wee hours of the morning to avoid any foot traffic. In preparation, the two pulled an all-nighter, just waiting for a clear time. They watched Breaking Bad together while drinking mug after mug of hot water. As 3 a.m. rolled around, the couple took their bolt cutters and drove down to the Wapato storage units. Chris parked at the gate, while Erica jumped out, cut her way into the fence, and then opened the gate from the inside for the truck. The two pulled up to the first storage unit as Erica cut through the lock. Slowly opening the unit's door, it felt like they had hit the jackpot.
Oh my damn.
Sports memorabilia and vintage clothes lined the walls of the unit. The two cheered as they quickly began throwing items into the back of their truck. That was easy, Erica said. Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't do this sooner, Chris replied. Shall we do another one? The storage robbing quickly became an addiction for the two. It was like their own personal episode of Storage Wars, except it could all be theirs. All they had to do was put it in their truck. The evening played out like a heist montage from Breaking Bad. TVs, video game systems, expensive collectibles, and anything else that caught their eye would quickly be tossed into their truck, as all they could see was dollar signs. At the end of their long night, the two threw a tarp over the back of their truck as they got in the cab to leave. Chris began to bring the keys to the ignition before Erica stopped him. Wait, she said, putting her hand on his. I want to watch the sunrise. The couple sat back and shared this very romantic moment as Chris let out a big long yawn. I guess we should have splurged and got coffee beans for that hot water, huh? Erica joked as they both laughed together, slowly drifting off to sleep. Sometime later, Chris was startled awake by the sound of knocking on his window. Standing beside his window was a police officer. Would you mind lifting up the tarp to see what you've got in the back of your truck, sir? The officer asked. In the blink of an eye, the robberies were confirmed, and Chris was in handcuffs. The officer then put cuffs on Erica and began walking her to the car. "You have the right to remain silent," said the officer. "I know," Erica said, "but we did it." You don't have to say anything. You have the right to remain silent," the officer reiterated. "I'm waiving that right," Erica said. "Go over to the east side of the fence and you'll see where I used bolt cutters to cut my way in." The officer continued walking the woman to the car, thinking about how easy this trial was going to be.
What a bunch of idiots.
In July of 2017, 29-year-old Christopher Nielsen and 27-year-old Erica Levis were found asleep with a truck full of stolen goods at the Wapato storage units in Yakima, Washington. With little investigating, the officers found 42 different storage units had been broken into and stolen from. According to the recordings of the arrest, Levis waived her right to remain silent and told the officers exactly where and how the two broke in. Both Christopher and Erica were charged with 42 counts of burglary, with no follow-up articles being made public explaining the severity of their sentences. So, now you know another benefit of sleep. Sure, you can scoff at having a healthy metabolism or improved state of mental health. Can you really take not being behind bars for granted? Living a low-energy life is one thing, but you really don't want to live a life as a prisoner. So with this, I challenge you all to stop living life as a prisoner to sleep deprivation. Turn off your Netflix, get off your phone, soak in a relaxing bath, and then crank up your favorite noise machine. Spend your evenings catching Z's, not staying up late, catching felon E's.
That ending.
I thought you'd like that.
Oh, that was like so something I would say. Oh, the corny mom jokes. Wow. Okay. First of all, I've never robbed a storage unit, but I feel like if I were to rob from 42, I think you said,
Yes.
42 of them, I would be pretty damn tired afterwards.
I would be too.
Good God, those things usually are a pretty decent size.
Yeah, whenever you pack your house to leave somewhere, you know how you get kind of just interested looking at your old shit?
Yeah.
And a lot of it has that nostalgia built up to it. Emily and I were watching an episode of The Cabinet of Curiosities, and they have a story about a guy who they would go up and they would open up a storage unit, and then people would bid on it by just like first glance, but then they would close it, and so you can't like look in it to see how much it's going to get.
Yeah.
So then the people get it, and then they get to go through it. It's like kind of voyeuristic.
Yeah.
You're kind of seeing like what kind of like weird shit people keep, and then you're also thinking, how much can I get for this, or could I just want to keep this for myself and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But my point was, when you're packing your stuff away, you always take way longer packing because you're kind of going through and looking at your stuff too instead of just packing it. It would be so hard to steal from a storage unit and not just want to be like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, that's kind of cool. You just kind of got to get moving. So I feel like it probably took a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, 42, you're doing it in the middle of the night. I'm not surprised that they fell asleep.
No, but also how easy of a whole crime situation was this to make right, you know? Because not only did she admit to it immediately, explain how they did it, whatever, she waived her right, which bless her little soul. But she probably wouldn't have gotten out of it anyway, but that's just kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, they had all the evidence on them.
Exactly. But also for the owners of those storage units, it was just right there. Like all their stuff only moved a short distance and it was just in the back of the truck. So, I mean, that's a pretty easy cleanup. I wonder if the police had to call each and every one of the people that owned the storage units.
I bet the storage management probably did.
Okay. I'm curious. If I was a storage unit place, I mean, you probably legally have to tell them, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I could see the temptation of being like, I'm just gonna, I mean,
Put it back and
put
don't
it
tell
back.
us. God, that'd be funny.
But on the other hand, I guarantee they weren't keeping everyone's storage units separately in the back of their truck. They were probably just like, rah, rah, rah. So then again, they couldn't do that. But
Yeah, it's like who had the flat screen, and all the people are like me, and it's like, oh, come on.
I know.
You just trying to steal now.
Like, how did they figured that out? Did everyone have to come and claim their items?
I would think.
Whew. Maybe it is a little more complicated than what I was originally thinking too. Because
Pinning it on the culprits is easy. Getting them arrested and getting them on all 42 counts, easy. But then getting it all back to where it needs to go, those people need to cooperate with each other.
Yeah.
And who's to say one of the owners wasn't a shady kind of guy and kind of like, I think that was mine.
Yeah, and what if they couldn't get a hold of people too?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this actually could be way bigger of a deal than I was originally thinking.
Yeah, a friend of mine actually, right before I wrote this story, he had to leave work because him and his son had a joint storage unit and it got broken into.
Oh man.
And I guess it was like his grandpa had given him a bunch of vintage tools, and his son is like a huge sports memorabilia person, which is where I came up with the idea on the story.
Okay.
But the kid had old boxing gloves signed by Mike Tyson and just like all of this really rare stuff, and it all got stolen.
Oh no.
And the cops were pretty much just like, this is kind of common. And they said, you can keep your eye on Facebook Marketplace and see if you can find that stuff. But most likely these people, if they're smart enough, they know not to sell it in places like that. And they'll kind of drive off to a faraway pawn shop and try to pawn it quick. And usually they'll take a cut. You know, they're not going to get what it's fully worth, but they're just trying to move it quick and get rid of it. Or they'll sit on it and hold on to it for months or a year and then try to start flipping it.
God, that sucks so bad.
And they didn't have any cameras.
No cameras?
Not at this real life. Well, they're both real life, but the one that happened to my friend, they didn't have cameras.
Oh my God.
They only had one camera at the very entrance and not like in front of the storage units. So they also said there's also a possibility that it could have just been somebody that had a storage unit there, broke in, stole it, moved it into their storage unit, and then left. It wouldn't have came off looking weird to a camera in the front, you know?
Right. Oh man, so that might be something to consider if you're looking for a storage unit, is be like, do you have cameras on the actual units themselves?
Yeah, and they're expensive, so like you better get one that's got
I would want a camera. Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything as valuable as those
Right.
things, but still, I wouldn't want all my stuff stolen.
Yeah, the whole reason why you got a storage unit was to protect your stuff.
Exactly. Oh, that sucks. But I mean, it is a little funny that she was like, I waved that right. Here we go.
Yeah, it just instantly. We've had a couple stories where that happened, like where the dude tried to hold up the gas station with the toy gun, and the second he got in the cop car, he just started crying and saying, I did it. I'll tell you everything. And like,
Yeah.
it's the same thing with this. I mean, in her situation, I guess if you just want to get it over with, you're caught. You could go to court forever and try to say innocent and then be like, really?
Honestly, I can kind of relate to her in a way. Like, I'm such a guilty person and such an honest person that I think I would probably just be like, you caught me.
Yeah.
I did it. I don't know if I've shared this brief little story on the podcast before, but my mom always talks about how I hit my brother in the head with a brush when I was a little girl. And it hurt him. And I immediately, right after I did it, I ran out and I was like, I hit him in the head and I did it on purpose. So I can kind of relate, but it's still just kind of funny.
It is kind of funny. I tried to do this in the story, even though probably it didn't actually happen like this, but I tried to play sleep deprivation as a huge thing for the whole thing. Every single bad
Right.
idea, every single thing was just because she was tired. So I would like to also kind of think that she was just so out of it and whatnot that she was like, I did it. Like, I just need to go to sleep.
I just need sleep. Oh, another thing I can relate to.
Yep,
My
same
God.
here.
All right. Well, that was quite the tale, Trevin.
Thank you.
I also have a story from the news this week, and I'm going to share my story. So here we go. Hugs, not drugs. As a 90s baby who lived through a school dare program, this phrase is familiar to me. I was taught that hugs were good, and drugs, well, some are better than others. I've seen a wide array of hugs throughout my life. Dramatic reuniting hugs in the airport,
I've missed you so damn much.
joyful hugs from a child to their stuffed animal, and even awkward one-armed bro hugs, trying not to show too much affection.
We're cool, we're cool. I just missed you, that's all.
These embraces can uplift a sad person and make a happy person even happier.
I'm so damn happy!
This makes me wonder if there are any real downsides to hugs. Instead of warmth and love, can a hug be filled with petty intentions? Kathy Stevens was a 65-year-old woman living in Clearwater, Florida. She had dirty blonde hair with graying roots, thin eyebrows, and a single mole to the left of her pursed lips. Kathy was a petite woman, but made up for her small stature with her bold personality.
I'm not afraid to speak up.
To those that knew her well, Kathy enjoyed shopping, chatting, and hugging. She was actually known around town for being a very affectionate lady, especially to the older men. It was common for the people of Clearwater to see Kathy exiting a local store with her small arms lined with shopping bags. But no matter how many items she had just purchased, Kathy always found room to hug a familiar face. Mark was also a person in his mid-60s residing in Clearwater, Florida. Sporting a silver-haired crew cut and bright smile, he looked a decade younger than he actually was. He was a simple guy, living his retirement dreams of golfing all day and practicing bird calls at night. Mark's group of friends was small, yet loyal. The guys met up every Thursday evening to drink whiskey and play poker. It was a content life, a good life. This brings us to a Wednesday morning in March of 2022. Mark walked into a local clothing store looking for some new golf shorts. His current pair always rode up, and he was tired of wedgies throwing off his backswing.
Oh, my ass.
He looked around the men's section for quite some time, until he found a couple of shorts that were sure to improve his golfing. Just as Mark was preparing to head to the front of the store to check out, he locked eyes with another shopper. The woman's eyes grew wide as she saw him, and her pursed lips parted as she opened her mouth in surprise. Mark turned around, expecting to see someone else behind him that the woman was reacting to, but he quickly realized there was no one else in that part of the store.
Oh my goodness!
Exclaimed the woman.
How are you? How's the family?
Mark immediately felt embarrassed. He had no idea who this woman was or how she knew him. But here she was, approaching him with arms wide open, going in for a hug. Mark self-consciously clung to his golf shorts as he reciprocated the embrace to this unfamiliar woman.
Oh, hey there,
he finally managed to say as the two wrapped their arms around each other.
The family? The family's good. And how are you?
The extended hug was beginning to make Mark sweat as his mind raced, trying to find this woman's name.
Oh, that's so good to hear. I haven't seen you at Dr. Lipton's office in quite some time.
Mark's shoulders began to loosen. She must work at his doctor's office. The clinic wasn't far from where the two stood, and Dr. Lipton treated the majority of people in town.
Well, I've been doing pretty well for myself,
Mark replied proudly as he sheepishly grinned.
Nice to see you. I hope you have a great day,
said the woman as she promptly turned towards the front of the store and left. Mark tried to forget about the random interaction as he placed the two pairs of golf shorts on the checkout counter. But as he reached for his wallet to pay, he realized something was very wrong. His wallet, filled with cash, credit cards, and other important items, was gone. After a long day of searching for his wallet with no results, Mark began to consider the possibility of being pickpocketed. He played the awkward hug he experienced over and over in his mind. He remembered having the wallet as he entered the store, and it was a very long and uncomfortable hug. But could a sweet lady like that really steal from him? The next day came, which was poker night with the guys. Mark explained that he couldn't be betting his normal amount due to the fact that he lost his wallet with all his cash the day before. He told the weird story of the woman in the store and the hug that seemed to change his fate when one of his friends interjected.
You met the hugging bandit?
He blurted out.
The what?
Mark asked, puzzled. His friend then explained that there was a woman in the area nicknamed the Hugging Bandit by the local media. She had been tied to multiple stolen wallets, and there was even a recent news article about her. He passed the paper to Mark as he read a quote out loud from one of the Clearwater police officers named Rob Shaw.
She's going up, acting like she knows them, hugging them, asking how their wife is, pretending she was a nurse at their doctor's office. Then she's taking their credit cards and going on shopping sprees at local stores.
Mark knew then he had indeed met the Hugging Bandit. A woman he would later discover was named Kathy Stevens. Thanks to police reports and store surveillance footage, Kathy, aka the Hugging Bandit, was arrested in Clearwater, Florida in March of 2022. She is currently facing more than a dozen charges from the CPD and other law enforcement agencies across the Tampa area due to her stealing a hug from multiple older gentlemen. I guess I stand corrected about my original opinion on hugs only being used for good. I encourage you all to stay on guard, clench tightly onto your wallet, and please, don't hug strangers.
Interesting. I mean, it's hard to turn down a sweet older lady.
I know. And let me show you a picture of her. I think I have it pulled up here still. Well, that's kind of her mugshot, but...
Hard to look sweet in a mugshot.
So here she is on the surveillance footage walking around, and you can see her mugshot there. If I saw this lady and she genuinely acted like she knew me,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too caught off guard by her physical appearance, right?
Right.
But I think she was using that to her advantage, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think she was too. Like if a weird dude was going to come up to me and be like, "Hey, I know you," and try to hug me, and be like, you're...
Yeah.
It's more okay for you to feel like you're shutting down a dude real quick. But when it's an older lady,
I know.
you kind of feel like the dick.
I know. I think she knew that too. She had to have known, especially because she targeted other men too, and like older men that maybe she thought, oh, they could easily forget people, or I don't know what her thinking was. I can only assume, but it clearly worked for what she was trying to do for a while.
Right.
And there were multiple accounts. The character of Mark is completely made up, okay?
Oh, okay.
I don't have any witness or victim quotes or statements or anything. That quote that I read about the paper was an actual quote from a police officer about her crimes. And obviously her character is real and the crimes are real. But yeah, there was no quote or any description about the men, except for that they were all older gentlemen and they were all from around the same area. So that's what kind of made me tell it the way that I told it, because I felt like we kind of needed to hear another side. And also I thought it would just be funny if she was known to like shop a lot because she stole people's money, and also that she was always going around hugging people.
I mean, it's probably really easy to make work when you're an older lady like that. And, and think about if you're a salesman who sells a lot, they say that you've been turned down more than you've ever sold and stuff like that. If she wanted to say, oh, hey, you're from Dr. Studebaker or whatever the like local doctor is.
Yeah.
If they're like, I don't go to that one, you're like, I'm old.
Right.
My bad. You look like somebody I know. And then nobody thinks twice.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too, because They said that she mentioned, oh, how's your wife doing? What if they're not married? What if their wife passed away? I mean, I guess you could be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know she passed away. But same
like
with the
20 years
doctor's
ago?
office. Yeah. Or same with the doctor's office. So that's why I wrote it the way I did, making it seem like it was more of a small area, but I genuinely don't know how large or small this town is. But from what the police officer said, she would ask about their family, their wives, or she would pretend to be a nurse specifically at their doctor's office. Kind of like you, I feel like there's a lot of room for error. But on the other hand, she can just be like, I'm mistaken. I'm just an old woman who's thought I saw a friend, you know?
Yeah. You can get away with so much when you're older like that.
Yeah.
Like my dad and I, when I was a kid, I remember we were on our way up to my grandparents. We parked in the parking lot to let my mom have to go get something out of a gas station or a store. I don't remember where we were. But my dad was just sitting there in the driver's seat and I was in the back seat. And this random woman just got in our car, just opened the door and got in.
Oh my God.
And although in this situation, I know she wasn't trying anything because she was just getting in the passenger seat, but she just sat down and kind of like looked over. My dad's like, oh, hey, how are you doing? And she's like, what am I doing here? And she like freaked out and was just like, I'm in the wrong car. And then there was literally another blue van, like 2 parking spots down. And she was like, I'm so sorry. And my dad's like, that's funny to me. That's cool. You could tell she was just super embarrassed and got out. But I mean,
That's a funny situation.
you can just kind of play things off as, oh, I'm confused or whatnot. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine if that woman did have some weird intent, although why would you get in a car with other people in it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's really easy to play that off as just, oh, I'm stupid, I'm sorry. And people are usually just like, hey, I've had dumb mistakes in my life before.
Yeah.
Free pass.
Yeah, I know.
Especially for an old lady.
Yeah, she had every cover-up option available to her, too. And also, I know for me, and I'm not even an older gentleman, but but I know for me, there have been times where people recognize me, and I do have this immediate panic of like, shit, how do I know this person? Where do I know them from? So like, imagine an older man who's lived his life, seen a lot of people in his time. You know, I could just see that being a very self-conscious moment. I should know this person. She seems to know me, you know, and then maybe just going along with it just to save your own self the embarrassment.
From movies and stuff that I've seen, I think that's pretty common for older men when they start to kind of feel the memory slipping. They kind of do everything they can to make up for it to seem like, oh, I'm cool. I don't, you know, they don't want to admit that weakness or that they're kind of mentally failing a little bit.
Yeah. And I get it, man. I feel like it'd be so awkward to be like, I'm sorry, who are you? I know you just hugged me, but who are you?
Yeah, it's kind of like if you're getting drunk and somebody's like, oh, you're drunk, you said something wrong. And you're like, no, I didn't. It's like that, except you're not drunk, you're just getting old.
Yeah, exactly.
For some reason, I'm embarrassed for people to know that I made a mistake in this situation.
I know. I think that con artists, especially, they really play on that vulnerability of the human psyche of like, oh, I can't be the one that's making the mistake here. Certainly, this can't be on me here. I just got to act like everything's fine. And she was definitely doing that. So, older woman or not, I think she has her wits about her. I think she was very crafty. I'm also really curious to know more about her to see if she's had like a criminal past or anything. I couldn't find anything like that. A lot of the articles were actually pretty short. They were kind of just going with the hugging bandit as their like main thing, showing off her mugshot. It did talk about how after she was arrested, the police department was like posting it on their Facebook page, kind of being like, we finally caught her. And I don't even know how long she was doing the hugging bandit stuff. There was a lot of missing holes to the story.
It had to have been long enough to get a nickname and for it to be sort of a serial thing.
Yeah. I just found it to be really fascinating. I always think it's fascinating when our petty criminals are an older woman, like a mature woman. It's just kind of funny to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's just something you wouldn't expect, but like we said, petty has no age limit, and
Petty knows no gender, age, anything.
yeah, and just because you're old doesn't mean that you're an old person. You know what I mean? Like an old, an old lady was once young, and there can still be shitty people that I know from my 20s that are still going to be just as shitty when they're in their 70s.
100%. And honestly, when I really think of her age, 65 really isn't that old now that I think about it. You know, old would be like 80s and up, I'd say. So, I mean, my dad listening right now is probably like, I'm in my 60s. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you're really digging yourself a hole.
I know I am. Oh, again, I'll stop talking and start talking again. So, connections this week. Did
I'm
you
having a hard
think of
time.
any? I know that's usually my job, but obviously both of them were stealing. But that's such a general connection.
We kind of dealt with human needs, like the need of physical touch and hugging, and you need sleep.
Okay, yes.
So, working with those sort of,
I guess. Yeah, this might be another one we toss to the listeners. If you guys think of a really good connection, because kind of like Trevin and I were talking about earlier, sometimes even when he's editing our show afterwards, he's like, oh, wow, we had this in common and this in common. But in the moment, it's really hard to hear that and recognize it.
Yeah, we just told the story out loud. We don't get it with the sound effects. I have to listen to it over and over again when I'm doing the sound effects. So
Right.
especially when I'm doing sound effects, I'm like, oh, okay, I have to do walking sound effects. So I have to do a car door. When I do one story and then I do another, I'm like, I'm using the same damn set of sound effects.
Yeah.
Like, how did I not realize that we did that same pattern? But it's like, well, yeah, I'm just listening.
Yeah. So if you guys think of anything, oh my gosh, let us know. We love hearing from you guys. So feel free to reach out any old time.
Yeah, we're always around.
We're here. So I hope everyone's having a great, great week. And just remember, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we're all doomed.
Doomed to give hugs that have ulterior motives.
Bye.
See ya.
Hi. Anytime you feel the need to stroke an innocent child's cheek, just turn on our show. And thanks for listening today.
And if you want to show off all of the walls that you cover in skeletons, why don't you find us on social media and show us? Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. Live, Laugh, Larceny.
And if your grandmother is the hugging bandit, please send us an email with your petty crime story to livelaughlarceny@gmail.com.
And don't run around the review spaces like a chicken with its head cut off. Narrow it down. Come to our page on Apple, Good Pods, or Spotify. 5 stars all the way across the board.
I wrote this slightly different. Usually I'll write it from one person's perspective, or maybe I'll write it just as like a floating narrator, but you kind of get a feel of two different people's lives a little bit.
Interesting.
I don't know. It's written a little differently, but come on. It's going to be pretty similar to other news stories. Let's get real. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to share my story. So here we go.
I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to start talking.
You know what, Trevin? Maybe just cut that whole entire intro out. Just put me in there saying, I have a story from the news, and I'm going to read it now. So here we go.
All right.
That's way less confusing.
You just signed that up to be the ending. So there you go.
Hey, creepy people. This is PNW Haunts and Homicides. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Cassie.
Together, we explore stories of the paranormal and true crime throughout the Pacific Northwest. For each episode, we do a tarot reading to help us gain some insight on the topic as we share the facts of the case and our interpretations. You can find our episodes featuring true stories from infamous cases such as the misdeeds of Boeing, as well as lesser-known true crime cases like the murders in Tunnel 13.
As well as our spooky stories from Pike Place and Ravens Manor on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you'd like to listen. Have a creepy-ass day.